Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of the Cartridge and Disc Podcast. This is your Gen X Gamer here. And here I am sharing a story with you about the worst boss, and I mean the worst boss that I've ever had. One of the worst human beings that I have ever met in my life. Let me tell you, when the when the words horrible boss were invented, they were invented for people like this. Let me tell you about this guy and how the genesis really saved me when I first started working with him. I was playing a lot of Evander Holyfield's boxing, which I believe was based like on, I think it was Final Bout, because I would play Final Bout in the arcades. But anyway, I would get home from work, guys, and I would play that game through. I would start a career and end it. That's how bad it was, after working with this guy. Now, to put this story into context, this is the same job where I told you one of our bosses gave us money to go to a strip joint, and I used the money to buy up my PlayStation, right? This is that same, for those of you who have been around the channel, if you haven't seen that video, you can go and check it out. So it's that same, it's that same job. But anyway, this guy was just an a-hole. This was hard labor, guys. I was doing very hard labor. But it was for a union, so I was getting paid like $14, $20 an hour, while the rest of the country, everywhere else, they were paying $7, $6.50, $6.82 or something like that. I can't remember what the minimum wage was, but it was over double that you would get paid, without an education, of course. Because I was a knucklehead back then. I wanted to prove myself that I could support my daughter on my own. I was 20 years old. This is the very early 90s. And that I could do it on my own. That was my whole thing. And I turned down help in order to educate myself. I could have been a mechanic, I could have been a plumber, an electrician, or I could have gone to college, all that stuff. And I turned it down because I wanted to prove to everybody that I could do it on my own, But if you young people are listening to this, take that offer, right? But don't learn crap that doesn't pay. Okay, just if you don't want to learn, any hard sciences, then go learn a trade. Don't waste your time on theater and stuff that isn't going to pay. You can do that afterwards, right? You can fund your own career afterwards, but learn something that'll pay you first. But anyway, guys, so I'm at this job, and this is the kind of guy that would come in, right? He would come in and just start criticizing everybody, right? Just down the row. Right, there was like a dozen people, a dozen men there, and just down the row, just boom, 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 boom. You're doing this wrong. You're a piece of shit. Da da da. This is. There was no sensitivity. No, this guy was just a hard ass. And then on top of that, as we would soon find out, he was fucking miserable in his own personal life, because what had happened to this dude is he got married to whatever he could settle for. It wasn't a great looking man. Certainly didn't have the personality to get laid on his own. And, all of a sudden he makes his company. This guy was good at business, right? He makes his company. All of a sudden he gets his contract that turns him into a millionaire within the period of maybe a year and a half, right? He didn't even have it like that when he first started working with him. And then all of a sudden he got money, and that's how these trips are being funded. But the reason they're being funded is because he's going to the strip joints, right? He's going to the strip joints, and because he's bringing in more clients, aka us, right? We didn't have money like that, guys. We were laborers, I mean, how much do you think $100 is going to last in a strip joint? Not long, right? Not long. And some of these guys were getting addicted to it. They're spending some of their paycheck on this stuff. That they were spending their stipend. But anyway, guys, so this guy's getting in with the, managers of these establishments. And of course, he's paying for VIP. It didn't start off like that. He started taking us to like Hooter style restaurants, where the girls are, quote unquote, scantily clad or whatever. And then eventually it graduated to the strip joints. Right, and he had a ball buster of a wife. Once she came in and we saw how she treated him in front of us, holy crap. We understood. Guys, I ended up leaving this job because I was going to whoop his ass. Literally whoop his ass. I invited him outside. Don't do that, guys. Don't have a job like that you've been working for a long time in because you can't give a reference. I couldn't give a reference, right? Can you imagine? Do you get well with others? Do you get along well with others? Oh, yes, of course. Why'd you leave your last job? Oh, I was going to whoop somebody's ass. I get along until I have to whoop somebody's ass. You know, I'm a different person now. You know, back then I was young, short fuse, immature, you know, I mean, the whole deal. I even saw this guy, I want to say like 15, maybe 20 years ago, and he was still afraid of me. Of course, he's much older now, and he thought I was going to whoop his ass. I laughed, you know, but if anybody deserved to get his ass whooped, it was this asshole right here, let me tell you. Let me tell you. And he was just a toxic piece of shit. You know, he would go and just criticize everybody. And he was just bitter that he had to pay us that money. You know? And we weren't working fast enough. And this is manual labor. This is shit he would never do. Okay, this is the kind of job where you literally had to be working out. Right? If you weren't working out, and the job itself was a workout, it was 80% of the job involved lifting sandbags. And like a pallet of sandbags, not like one or two, no, sandbags. All day, every day. 14-hour shifts. We worked 6 hours, get a break for 1, then another 6 or another 3, break, and then, you know, just end up the job. And it was brutal, but it paid amazingly, right? We would only have to work like 3 days, 4 days a week, and we make, you know, double the money that other people were making at, you know, entry-level jobs. So nobody ever left, but we all had to deal with this asshole, you know. And the only time he was ever nice is when he would take us to the strip joint and then tell his wife that we were the ones going, right? We found out this bullshit. I made sure that I told his wife because I knew his wife. Afterwards, that these are his trips. He's funding these fucking trips, and she beat the shit out of him. That was petty, but fuck him. Fuck that guy. To this day, fuck that guy. One of the worst pieces of shit. One of the worst fucking human beings that you could ever meet. Petty, fucking an asshole, would take out, you know, his fucking anger on people that he thought were less than him, anybody that had less money than him. And eventually somebody did whoop his ass. He put him in jail. But let me tell you, every blow must have been fucking satisfying because this guy was an asshole. He thought because he had money, he could talk down to people, he could disrespect people. One of those idiots, you know. But, you know, everything has a silver lining, guys. Every job after that, right? Every job after that was easier. Every job after that one was a walk in the park. You know, and I've worked picking up bodies, right? I've worked, you know, doing some crazy shit. And let me tell you, that was the worst experience in a job that I ever had. But if it wasn't for the Genesis, if it wasn't for me going home and every day using it as therapy, and playing Evander Holyfield's boxing, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is based on Final Bout. I used to play Final Bout in the arcade. But anyway, man, I love playing that game. I love playing that game. And, you know, by the time it was over, I would start a career. And then finish it as soon as I could. And that would just, you know, get the anger out of me of what I would have. Because not even lifting all those sandbags was enough to deal with the bullshit that this guy put out. You know, it wasn't the physical labor that was draining about that job. It was fucking dealing with this stupid son of a bitch. Let me tell you. Fuck. But you know what? This guy, he ended up marrying the maid. He was fucking his maid. End up getting divorced, lost half his shit, And yeah, he's just a miserable piece of shit, let me tell you, to this day. I wouldn't whoop his ass now. I think that this is one of the one of the few times where they say karma works. Well, somebody else whooped his ass, and he's still rich, but his life is actual trash. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. That was a little bit of a story time. I got a couple more today. I have some free time, and we'll talk some more Miko. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.